Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Redevelopment Commission meeting. Thank you for all you do for the community, and we appreciate you. Vice Chair, could we have the roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Lovick.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan.
Here.
Commissioner Tripp.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner Walker. Commissioner Wallace. Commissioner Parham. And Commissioner Walker has just arrived.
Apologies for becoming late.
Okay.
Chair Lee
Here.
and Co-Chair Paragoy is here. You have a quorum, Madam Chairman. Let me also acknowledge our ex officio members, Alderman Bengal,
Here.
Alderman Best, Alderman Harris.
Present.
Okay. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. We have the floor is not open for public comment. It is 4 minutes per speaker. Do we have any public comment tonight? Any public comment? Okay, seeing that we have none, we move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item approval of minutes. You will see on the agenda it said minutes from April 13th. We don't have those minutes tonight, but we will have them at the next meeting. The other minutes have been uploaded to the website, and we still have a few sets of the closed agenda minutes that we will get to you and get updated. So we don't have any minutes to approve tonight. Okay. All right, moving on to our next agenda item. Commissioners, we need to shift the agenda a little bit tonight to allow our guests to go first, because we have some other presentations at the end. So could I get a consensus to move the agenda tonight?
So moved. Second.
All right, thank you.
We got a motion and a second.
Motion and second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? Ayes have it, thank you. So we will go to item 5 on the agenda, and that is consider making a recommendation for 803 Pavie Avenue. I talked to Ms. Susan Barber. She had called regarding this particular property, and our protocol when someone requests the properties that they come and present it to the commission. That is the protocol we voted on at the last meeting. So Ms. Barber is here tonight, and she will be making that presentation. Ms. Barber, if you will go to the podium here.
This good enough?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you to the Board of Development, to Ms. Theresa Lee. My name is Susan Barber, and I am the president of the Christian Pound Burial Society Restoration Incorporation. The society is 107 years old as of this year, 2022. We're here to continue to render spiritual and guidance to the restoration of our communities. This is a Christian-based society, and it's in need of additional space. The society is located 810 Pavie Avenue, which is across the street from this property. We're inquiring for the lot across the street, which is 803 Pavie Avenue. The society would like this property to be a part of its nonprofit organization for parking and other activities pertaining to the restoration of the communities by the Christian Pound Burial Society. The Christian Pound Burial Society is asking the City of New Bern for this property, and understand that there is a process for it. We thank you for the opportunity to request the purchase of this property. And are there any questions for me?
Let me ask our chair of the housing working group to speak.
You're not planning on building any structures on this property? You said parking and other...
Parking and other activities, like we're planning on doing something for Juneteenth, and if we need some additional space, we would like to use that property for that space, like for activities outside, feeding, or just congregating that we don't have the room on the inside of the building to be able to do. Also for other activities throughout the year. Like during the summertime, or starting in the spring, we do things for Easter. We do things for, which we're getting ready to do something for Memorial Day. And we just don't have all of the space that we need on the inside or the outside of our property.
Okay, but you don't envision any structures being...
I do not at this point, no sir.
Okay.
Is it in the floodplain?
Yeah, very, very much
It is.
so.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
it's
can
not,
agree with
it's not a
that.
FEMA lot or anything like that?
Mhm. No, it's probably right there on Cedar Street, probably one of the lowest spots on Cedar Street.
Olive blue is like,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Questions from other commissioners? Yes,
I actually have a question for the board. Does everyone have a clear understanding of what the Burial Society is and what its function was and how important that it has been to that community? And if you haven't, if you would like to start, I would love to add a little bit of history to it also.
As I said, the Christian Pound Burial Society is a 107-year-old society. It started way back in the day when there was a young lady, and her name was Ella Burton, and she would start with children. She would get them all. They were not doing anything as they're doing today. She would gather them at the hall, and she would get them flags, and she would march them down to the Soldier Cemetery on the 30th of May. They would have services. They would have a band, and of course we'd have to have license from the city, and we would do that. They also, for the society itself, took care of the communities with food, with burials. They would help assist people who needed to be buried that did not have the funds to bury their loved ones. They would feed people who could not afford to get anything to eat. The pound stands for a pound of meat, a pound of flour, a pound of cheese, a pound of sugar, to tide the family over for at least a week. And this went on for years. And again, of course, with burying your loved ones to help assist with that. We would not use the whole expense of burial, because we could not afford it. But we would assist in it. We would pay probably almost half of what it cost to bury someone at that time. And it was very helpful to the community. It also assisted in other civic activities, and it also assisted in all the churches. It wasn't a denominational thing. It was for everybody and anyone that was interested and needed help from the society.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to add. I really don't.
And that's
Other
what brings
than back
into
in the
today.
60s and the 70s, in my formative years, I had a chance to actually see it work firsthand. And there used to be a time that funerals did not cost $8,000, $9,000, and $10,000, but they would cost $1,000 at the most. And the Pound Society would give up to $300 a third, because you can always get a third from your church, you can get a third from the society, and you can get a third from what was called the Burial Association back then, that people used to have insurance and would pay 25 cents a month or 75 cents every 3 months. But it was more so for support, and it was the community coming together at a time that was not very, that death wasn't understood as it is now. And it wasn't studied as it is now. But it was in my formative years that I first became a fan of the Pound Society, of the Burial Society. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission?
Real quickly, just to clarify, thank you for asking your question, because you did share some good information on that. Just because we have it on the agenda as potentially you purchasing the property, I want to make sure it is the nonprofit that will be purchasing it?
It is nonprofit, yes
Okay.
it is. It's a nonprofit Inc. organization. And it intends to stay that way because we're out to try to help someone. We're not out to make a whole lot of money. All the monies that we have, which we have every fourth Sunday, we have a service at the hall on Pavie Avenue. And we have different ministers from different churches come and speak, and their membership come and join us for the service. The monies that are raised is for the upkeeping of the building and also to give back to the communities. We just recently did a Easter thing, which we went out and purchased a whole bunch of lilies and we gave them to the churches. Before then, we did not do anything for Valentine, but at Christmas time, we got all of the children that we could ever think of and tried to let them know about it, that we were giving away free Christmas treat bags. And it had fruit, candy, no toys, something for their bodies, you know, that would help them, because even though they get toys and stuff at Christmas, they don't always get fruit. They don't always get candy. They may cannot even afford it. But this was something for them, and it was targeted at children ages 4 to 12. And they came around and they got the bags, and it made them very happy. It made me happy to see a smile on their faces. And this is what we're all about, and bringing communities together. And you have to do it. People talk about love, they preach about love, but you have to show it. And the only way that they're going to understand is by showing it.
Okay. All right. No further questions? Okay. Well, what we will need is a motion, a recommendation to the city of Newburgh, because this is a city-county owned lot and it has to go through the city of Newburgh. So, we have anybody want to make that recommendation?
And just so the members are clear as to the analysis and processing this information, the first step in your deliberation before you make a recommendation is to determine whether this commission has any use for this particular lot. Currently, it is in joint city-county owned ownership, but as you know, there has been a freeze with conveyances in the redevelopment area, so that if there was a request that was needed of this commission, you would have an opportunity to petition the local governments for that property. If you determine that this commission does not have use for that property, and use, when I say use, you don't intend to build, whether it's in the floodplain, evaluating all those factors. If you determine that you all don't have a use, then the next step in your analysis is whether the type of use that Ms. Barber has forecasted is consistent with your redevelopment plan. If you find that you don't have a use and that Ms. Barber's organization's intended usage of the lot is consistent with the redevelopment plan, then you can make a motion to recommend that the city of New Bern initiate the upset bid process for Ms. Barber's organization or whomever to place a bid to ultimately gain ownership of this lot if they are the winning bid.
Okay. I'm the,
Sorry. Could you bring the map up again, please?
Yeah, I do up 5 things at one time.
we will, that Vice Chair Pericle will talk about that, the housing working group did meet regarding this and look at all those things that the attorney has said.
Can you just tell me what street is right there running,
Cedar.
That's Cedar, and so we are talking about the flood zone. Can you give us elevation numbers for that? That's some of the most.
That's the flood zone.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably like 4 or 5 feet.
Okay.
I don't have the contours on this particular because it's so obvious. I didn't go to that detail.
Some of the more severe area of.
Yeah, this part of Cedar
Right.
Street right
Okay.
through here is, yeah, it's bad.
Right.
Do you know who owns that lot next to them? Is that a city-county lot
This
as well?
one.
No,
No, the one on the other, yeah.
no.
I was just curious if the city owned that. Okay.
No, I think someone else purchased it.
Well, that's, the church is right there, isn't it?
Church is across the street.
It's across the street in front of it.
Okay.
Great idea.
Yeah, the housing work group did have their little meeting yesterday afternoon, and we discussed this property, and we determined that it has no intrinsic value to the housing work group for structure or development of profit housing opportunities there, mainly due to its location in the floodplain, a rather severe floodplain situation there.
Okay, all right. If we get up on our motion, if there are no further questions, to make the recommendation to the city.
I would like to make the recommendation.
So I think your motion might be, you move to recommend that the Board of Aldermen of the City of New Bern initiate the upset bid process for the sale of 803 Pavie Avenue.
Exactly what she said.
I'll second that.
Verbatim, that's right.
Okay, all right.
I didn't set you up, but I did.
Okay, any further questions? All right, discussion. All in favor, aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Barber.
Thank you,
so
Ms.
much.
Thank
Thank you for the great work.
Thank you. Mr. Shelby, we can hear you.
Matt?
Okay. Moving to,
Mr. Shelley, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
If you can hear us, if you would kindly select the mute option.
I'm gonna mute you, Matt.
Thank you.
technology. Okay. All right, agenda item number 6, consider making a recommendation for 612 Second Avenue. And I had spoken to Mr. Roberts, and he is here tonight to make that presentation. Mr. Roberts, yes.
Thank you all very much. Mark Roberts, with my partner Sean Milburn, who's also here. Under Rise Up New Bern, our LLC, we purchased 610, a single-family home right next door. And we were looking at this 20 by 90 parcel that is adjacent to ours. We would like to just kind of add it to our lot. I don't know if it's, yes, it's actually, yeah, 2 lots there. We would basically combine it with the lot that we have now, so we can get a driveway truly off the street as opposed to being off the street this much and open your mirrors there when you come out in the morning. So that's the main purpose of what we're looking to do with it. Just so you know what we do at Rise Up, we purchase properties in this area, fix them up to be rented out. We maintain the rentals, we hold them forever basically, our plan. And we do work with Twin Rivers to find residents. So that's us in a quick nutshell.
Okay. All right.
Alice, can you make it larger? So, I mean, can you expand that picture?
Not that picture, but I can go over here.
And while you're doing that, we only purchased the property probably a couple of weeks ago, but that has been a dumping site for the area. We work with the city to get some of the trash and things taken.
So where are you said you own the 2 lots? Which
No,
are-
no, just that one lot.
Where?
Probably gonna be right here. That should be 610, 612, then another lot, another boarded up house.
How many properties does your LLC currently own in the redevelopment area?
In the redevelopment area?
Yeah.
Yeah, help. I'm guessing 2, but we have one over in Green.
Over where?
Green Street.
Green Street.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we're almost in that last picture.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, questions?
Flood zone? Yes?
Yeah. I think it's in the,
That on Second Avenue.
500 years
It touches
Second Avenue.
Okay.
But it would be
It's just
probably
outside.
the
It's
just
500-year
outside.
flood.
My neighbors are, yes.
Okay, it's in the 500. Okay.
Do we own other properties on that street? Is that where we've
No,
been
that
assembling, or is
portion,
it first where we've been assembling?
No, it's further,
This is closer.
next block
To the
up.
front.
Okay.
Yeah, and we don't own any, or the county doesn't even own any in that
Anything
general
in second.
vicinity, yeah.
Okay. Further questions?
Ms. Roberts, did I understand you to say that your group is working with Twin Rivers Opportunities?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going down the Section 8 path with,
Yes.
with your properties in this area?
That is our preference.
In between A and M Street. Miss Curley.
And you throw out a plug, they're much better than Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
And you mentioned that you got one other property in this basic neighborhood. You have other properties here around town that you guys?
Just green.
Just green, okay.
So one question I have is, when we laid out the guidelines for the commission, did we institute the rental program? Did that pass, and is that in place? When I say rental program, with certain standards as
The rental registration program that was
right.
in the plan has not been,
not been adopted?
not been something, but
I think there's some legalities.
yeah, there's a lot of I's and dots and T's to cross in that program from what I remember
Yes.
Jeff talking about it. And we hadn't initiated that yet.
He's wanting to turn this into a parking lot though, correct? You're not gonna build on it?
A parking lot for this building.
Right, so you're not gonna build a structure on it?
We have no intent to.
Okay.
I have a quick question. The property that you all have on Green Street, is it adjacent to the Gilfield Church property?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of work on those two houses. Those were the Brown houses.
Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, I will also comment that the housing work group looked at this property yesterday afternoon in their meeting. And again, we have no ownership in this general area to combine with it. The lot itself is only 22 feet wide, which when you look at setbacks in the current redevelopment plan, which calls for 5-foot sideline setbacks, you would, to build a structure there, you would be a 12-foot wide house. So we have no desire to utilize this property for the development of housing.
You cut yourself 6 inches short, it's 22.6.
Oh, well, that changes.
Who do you get to do your survey?
I took that from the.
Okay.
You're told they get a survey?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They tell you to do that.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Commissioners, any further questions, or can we make a motion? Can we move to?
I'll have to make that same motion.
Whatever she says.
So if the commission is inclined to, one, determine that there's no suitable usage for the development commission's purposes, and that the usage that the gentleman has forecast is consistent with the redevelopment plan, then a motion might be styled in this fashion, that you move to recommend to the Board of Aldermen to initiate the upset bid process for 612 Second Avenue.
I'd like to make that recommendation.
I'll second it.
My motion.
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to make a comment publicly, and I hope I'm not out of order. I would publicly like to thank this LLC. They have never seen me, but I've seen them on several occasions. I know what you all were dealing with that residence on Green Street. I've seen you all consistently and constantly working on it and bringing it up so that it's not the eyesore that it had been for years on Green Street. So I would just like to tell you thank you.
Thank you.
If
If you're free next week, I'd love to show you inside.
I'm always there.
They'll do nays? Let me do ayes again. How about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. All right.
Nice to see you.
All right, we're gonna move to, agenda item, 4, and Commissioner Morgan, do you have, anything for us for neighborhood, tonight?
I do. on May the 9th, on Monday, I actually had the honor of riding out with Mr. Marvin Williams, city manager. We did a short walkthrough and a ride-through in the redevelopment area. And first of all, the redevelopment transitional residence located on Eubank Street is currently still pretty much in the same position and in the same area. There's not been any footing poured, and the barriers have been feebly maintained pretty much. Several properties owned by the city have been identified by myself and Mr. Williams, and they are slated for certain attention of overgrown brush, grass, tree limbs on power lines, and etc. These properties will be in phase 1 of the community cleanup. We've also identified some of the lots, such as Main and Eubanks, K&G Streets, 1121 Myrtle, the corner of Elm and First Avenue, which is a trailer that is there, and I think we did acquire that property, did we not? Okay. That is in dire need of being cut back behind that trailer. It is boarded up now, right there on the corner across the street from Star Zion Church. Okay. Also, we looked at 2 properties, one on the corner of Elm and 2nd Avenue that is owned by the city, and the corner of Main and Eubanks, which is across the street from where the Governor Road store was. That's owned by the city. We were looking at maybe putting dumpsters during the community cleanup and also leaving them in place to kind of alleviate some of the garbage that is gathered in until we can think of something else to do for this garbage pickup as it relates to the recyclables and the weekly garbage pickup by, I can't think of the name of the company. Them. Okay. So there's also a property behind the church, behind Star Zion, that we have located several that are not owned by the city.
Okay.
With different homeowners. Mr. Williams will be getting in contact with those property owners, giving them an opportunity to be able to come and join us in helping them to clean up their property. We will not be going on anybody's property that we have not spoken to, and we will not be going on to clean up anybody's property. We're basically trying to let them know that if they need some assistance and some guidance, then we will help them bring it out to the street and haul it away. Now, there are some other properties that are owned by the city. Before we can really get into having the community and notifying them to clean up their property, the city has to show some good faith and cut back some of the brush that we have identified on some of these other properties. Now, we have also noticed that the East Rose Street Duffy Field Stormwater Project has just completed its phase 1, and it's looking a lot better. The whole area is looking a lot better, so we are seeing progress. Mr. Williams will be in contact with Public Works, the city employees, and the community residents. We will be offering gloves, trash bags, etc., and we will let them know of the trash pickup. He will be meeting with the department heads to make sure that they have the properties identified and also what dates work best for Public Works. As we said, there will be 3 phases. Phase 1 will be a more simpler phase, but we want to do it in the same area. Phase 1 will also include First Avenue, 2nd Avenue, and 3rd Avenue as it relates to garbage pickup. There's not a high influx of brush and overgrown, and it looks a lot better since we started the 1st and the 2nd community cleanup. Now, phase 3 will concentrate on the Walt Bellamy area, redevelopment area, which is south of Broad Street. He's going to share those locations, as I said, with Public Works and the department supervisors who will ultimately set the date and locations for all phases of the community cleanup. There's no shortage of work to be done in the redevelopment area. but the landscape of overgrown lots, excessive trash, and dilapidated structures must be addressed and the homeowners held accountable, beginning with the city of New Bern. We also wanted to make mention that we did do some walking. There are several storm drains that are inoperable. You will not see them unless you are walking down some of these streets, and they're both on the Walt Bellamy end of the redevelopment, and also down in the FEMA, the green space area, which won't be addressed until the third phase. That third phase will be, the second phase is when we will bring out the heavy duty equipment and we will address some of the more difficult areas that have not been addressed.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions from the,
Do you have any dates or anything yet on that? Are you, do you have an approximate time frame?
We're ready to go whenever the department heads can see their way through. We don't know what projects they're currently working on, but what we wanted to do mainly was give them, and as I said, we wanted to give them 3 different phases. The first phase needed to be something simple for the city, but would change the landscape and give the optics to change so you could see visibly, hey, they're out here working, we can see a change in the landscape, which is not going to take a lot. The second phase will be the more difficult one, and as I said, they have to be the ones to clear their calendar, but we did provide plenty of addresses, plenty of different options, and we're just waiting and willing to work with the city, as they have always with us. And Public Works has always been good to us.
all right, so have we found any locations for the dumpsters over in Walt Bellamy? Because last time, I don't know where we put them.
It's 2.
Yeah, but those 2 are north of Broad. We need to find something over in that area. And what I was thinking
Put
was,
them on our lots that we want?
right, that's what we're trying to concentrate on.
Yeah.
And I would like to have them on 2 lots, if possible, one on the east side and one on the west side.
Okay,
But we would have to identify with what is being done and what the schedule is as it relates to the redevelopment commission.
okay. All right, well, let us know and we have to do whatever we need to.
We can find your place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It begs the question, though, what your phase 2 of your cleanup, you talk about in the area where the FEMA lots are, which is part of the big Duffy Field stormwater project.
Middle Street.
And, yeah, and and 6 months ago, we had this room full of drawings and the engineers and everything here describing what would be phase 2 of that project, which would clean that whole area up and begin the development of outdoor recreation area and passive recreation and a series of stormwater detention ponds. What is, anybody know what the status of that phase of the project is and where it's headed?
Alderman Harris, aren't they continuing to, we keep get updates and they're continuing to work on it. I don't know where they're actually at. The monies and the grants have been there. I guess it's just letting the contracts. That's where we're at, and just letting contracts, and they've already worked on some of that.
They have done an
actively-
excellent job. It actually looks a lot better than it did.
Yeah.
You can tell that there has been some improvements made. It's a lot cleaner than it was. It is a lot safer than it was. And you can tell that there has been some progress made. We're talking about the Middle East Rose area where they have the 2 ponds now. Because what they did, actually, they dug it out a little more and they landscaped it. When I mean landscaped it, they shaded it. I don't mean landscaping it, graded it, thank you. They actually graded it, which gave it a better look and a safer look. Now, there's no way that they're through with it, but I think, and I was told that the first phase has been completed. I don't know what the second phase is, but I am pleased with what I've seen thus far.
Could I make a recommendation?
think I can add just a little bit to that. George Childs just emailed me a couple days ago that they are working on getting the, I guess, dimensions, whatever, for upsizing the pump that goes, that new pump. So they're working on that. That's the next piece that they're doing.
Because there's currently no pump on the premises.
Okay.
Good.
Ms. Wilson,
Yeah,
would you make a note for Matt that we need to get an update?
okay.
If we could get Mr. Childs to come in at our next meeting and do an update
That would
on
be a great
the
idea.
status of that, follow up on that
Is it
project.
gonna be Charles or we gonna get Al?
Well, George is really the one in charge of it. George and Jordan, I mean, they've kind
Yeah,
of been
that's
working
true.
in combination,
Yeah.
the two of them.
Let's tell Matt whoever we need to. Let's work with Mr. Perigord to find out who we need. Yes, sir. Any other things? Any other?
Any other questions?
Any other questions for the cleanup? Great job. Looking forward to it. We always have a great time. It's great to see the residents come out as we are very excited. And so, okay, all right. Moving to agenda item 4. Kip Perigord, our housing working group update. Probably.
We've already mentioned that we met yesterday, and so we keep on you've heard about our initial deliberations about parcels of land that were requested for purchase by individuals and organizations. A couple other things that we have received the initial report from Dr. Leon Caldwell on his visit back in December, where he had a little basic charrette meeting with some residents and other individuals to talk about housing opportunities in the Duffy Field neighborhood. There is a series of deliverables based on our contract that he was to provide, and we have the first installment of that presentation. We have looked at it, and we are going to continue to review it and wait a little bit until we get the executive director on board before we go any further at this particular time with Dr. Caldwell's plan, and also hope that in that interim we will get some more information from him. The other thing that we did is Matt Shelley and myself sat through a 4-hour presentation from the North Carolina State University School of Design. I think we talked about several meetings ago that their architecture and design students had a studio project for this entire semester, and it was based on developing housing options for the Duffy Field, specifically for the Duffy Field neighborhood. And they presented their individual projects that they had developed for the housing to a group of reviewers in the School of Architecture who will eventually probably help give them their grade. And there were probably about 8 different presentations made, and some very, very interesting concepts for housing and so forth. And part of what they did is that the students selected specific sites to develop their housing product for. And it was very interesting to see the selection of the sites that some of them used. One student selected K Street, down where the little garden area is, which you can't get much lower elevation-wise than that, which caused them to have to build up the ground with a series of terraces and terrace walls and so forth, which look very nice, but totally takes out the affordability concept to the housing project. But we also had one of the students selected First Avenue, that the area that we actually own, and will be one of our upcoming projects to develop, and had some interesting insight into what they would do with that particular project. We have requested from the School of Architecture, and they have committed to us that they would send us all of the slides of the presentations on the housing products. Some of it has some relationship to the current architecture in the community, and some of it is going to look like a sore thumb sticking up, because the architecture students think differently than we do, and some of their design concepts are very interesting. But again, I wonder how well that the exterior development will fit in the community. But that's something the community will have an opportunity to respond to in the future. The other thing that we saw that came out in this is that we, as a redevelopment commission, will be doing have the opportunity to do a lot of infill type of building and creating of housing. And a lot of the designs that we saw definitely would not work in an infill type of situation. They would be more appropriate for a whole block, cleared out block of land that could be adapted to make a neighborhood feel and didn't have to comply with the house on either side of it. So anyhow, very interesting. We will see it as a commission, the slides, and have the opportunity to look at them and see what they presented to us, because there's some very interesting stuff, and some of it is very applicable to what we need to be doing. I'm going to ask Beth Walker to talk about the Eubank Street house that you mentioned in your report, and give us an update on that.
Yes, okay, thank you. In fact, I have the set of drawings and all the drawings on disc to give to Deasia, but I have been talking with her. She is working with someone who is going to put together the bid package, and so I have the final sealed drawings for that, for the renovation of the Eubanks house, and so they're ready to go. She can work with the person putting the bid package together for that now.
Is there a timeline that we were talking about getting the bid package together where that might be able to be released?
I am not sure what that agreement is. I wouldn't think that it would take more than 30 days to do that. And then the bid timeline would be 30 days. And I did hear Commissioner Morgan say the footings have been poured, and this is only for the interior renovation of the house and not for any of the foundation.
The footers are there. The foundation blocking is not there. The footers are there.
There's been a trench that has been done, and there's been cement that has been poured in for the footing, but there has not been anything else that has been done, other than the house has been turned, I guess, at an angle to where it'll be appropriate.
And it's a matter of terminology. Of that you're talking about is in the building trade is a footer.
Okay.
Okay. And that's
so
just
the
a terminology
connection
thing.
of the foundation wall from the footing to hold up the house is not there.
That's right.
Correct.
And that's being included in the bid package.
Okay.
For a general contractor to do it all.
And I believe that that design is separate from our package, because we do not have the design for those foundation walls in our package.
Okay.
So I believe that is who Deasia, and I'm sorry I don't know the name of the entity that she's working with.
Yeah.
But we had shared emails, and she had said that,
like that,
you know, she could, the entity just needed the sealed drawings, specifications. I've got those here with me to give to her, and then I've got them electronically for her use as well.
Okay.
The CDBG consultants.
Okay.
Urban Design Ventures, yeah, for the CDBG.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the Eubanks house? Because I know the neighborhood has been talking with you and things like that.
Are we still considering this usage as a transitional house? Okay,
It'll be rental property, yep.
correct. And, okay, it will be rental property, but it will be transitional rental property. That's not what we will be doing, is renting it out. As, will we? We're not in the landlord business.
Not us actively, but the plan is, as approved, and we've gone through, does call for the commission to own rental property, not to actively rent it per se, but to own the property.
Right, but to have displaced or misplaced families that are being displaced, to be able to go into a transitional house, not to have it as their rental property, but until we can place them somewhere else, was my understanding.
And is that something you talked to Mr. Ruggieri about? I'm not saying it's a possibility, but we know that it's gonna be rental. That's
One of the main one of the main issues that came up when we were purchasing property that was already and still inhabited by landlords were that we didn't have anywhere to put them. And so that's.
oh, you're talking about in that, okay, I see what you're
How I
saying.
understand
Okay,
it.
I see what you're saying,
That
okay,
is, we're displacing people to give them better housing.
yeah. But
Until the
that's,
better housing is built, this is the transitional place they go
but
to.
that's not transitional housing. That's
Well, you
not
see,
the
I
thing
have
you
my
want
own
to-
terminology in my own
so
head.
that's why,
Regardless.
so that's where I'm going, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not transitional housing, I know what you're saying. Replacement housing or temporary housing is really what it is.
It
Temporary
doesn't have to
housing.
make sense to you all, it makes sense. No, I understand. But that's what I'm talking, okay, so replacement housing, no ma'am, I'm leaving. So replacement housing is the proper terminology. Thank you.
Temporary housing.
Temporary housing,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Because all the housing people in the room were looking at you.
Well, I was on his side because transitional, they're transitioning from one situation to another. So I'm with you when you right now.
Save yourself, but I do appreciate you coming over here.
Come on, I'm gonna hang out there for you.
Save yourself.
But that's not what it is. But it's okay, it don't
I'll take
matter what it is. What it is, long as they're not homeless, that's all we want.
Okay.
That's the goal. Okay. All right. So, has any of the neighbors approached you about the condition of the house lately?
We haven't caught any children or any kids playing around it recently. I
Okay.
think that they've gotten bored with it now, and since they boarded it up, but now the thing is, what is its usage gonna be? And I'll go back and I'll make sure that I give them the proper terminology
Okay.
also, because I misinformed them.
I know what
And
you
let
said.
them know that with Beth has got all the documents ready and is going to create the bid package right now.
But they did understand the concept of what I was trying to convey to them.
Okay.
And they were very, very excited about that, because that gave them some hope that, hey, so they're trying to actually prepare to give somebody something while they're building up something else, so they're not going to displace our neighbors.
Right. That's right.
So that was some great buy-in that we had there with the public. So to answer your question, nothing negative has come up.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions regarding the Heath Lane Street property?
Or the housing work group.
Or the
That's
housing
it.
work group. That's our report. Okay, at this time, we need to take a 5-minute break. So if we take that, you're welcome to say, get up and stretch or whatever, but we need to take a 5-minute break as we wait for the speaker.
My sister, I thought of you today. We need to do some coffee soon.
Telling everybody how to
That's what I was thinking.
It's good to see you, brother. Trying to do everything I gotta do to keep This is part of the process. Oh
Wow. It's really funny when I first came. Wow. Right. Mama was right. And then
That's not good.
I got married, I was in a hospital. That's
Now I'm gonna put the plate up top. Because if I land on all the nerves, it's out
I forgot what the restaurant was, but it was the restaurant that everybody would go to for Sunday dinner. After he got out of college, he went to work for Kobe, he was a loan officer. And so he's in Greenville,
That's a good attitude. That'll get you through.
He was there, not quite a year before we got, maybe 9 months before we got married. So we got married and that's in college.
Oh, okay. So you came to college?
Yes, so that's how I met him. So yeah, we got married and then I was gonna live in the hospital. Okay, or whatever, you know. And then he brought me here and it's like, oh my God, you know. But, you know, we did have a really, they had built this in a residential neighborhood, little townhouses and we could afford it. And it was so sweet, it was my first home. You know, I worked big games. And, you know, lived there for 2 weeks. Steve quits. Well, what happened was, we went and they said to him, we're going to give you a promotion and raise, which we were so excited. He was making $11,000. This was 1980, he was making $11,000 a year, and we thought we had $11,000. Yeah, seriously. So he was going to get a raise and a promotion. So we were so excited. So the promotion was he was going to be bank manager. So here we go from a hostage to bank. So like I said, we were married 2 weeks. So we came down to Mayfield.
That's why you see politics.
In 1980, we could not find anywhere to live.
I see red light.
Because there were not a lot of renters back then. It was and we didn't have money. There was no way we could afford it. So we asked to live in New York and Mayfield, the branch manager. So we looked around. It was really whatever. So he said, it's time for me to go home. I said, no, but I don't know what to do. So it was funny because he went, well, he didn't say it was time for me to go home. He said, I just think I'm not going to take the promotion. I'm not, I'll just have to stay in a hospital. I said, that's fine. So he went back to his manager and said, I don't take the job. You don't take it.
So we need to have that.
Because they had offered it to
we need
3
to
other
start.
people, who declined.
Okay.
So his boss's boss says, the next person who takes it gets fired. So Steve said to him, I quit. 2 weeks later, we moved back to Newburgh. Moved in with his mother. Yeah, moved in with his mother and father. That was
I'm with you when you're
just about that was,
It'll be on the next vertical.
so I got up, I know, but I did survive.
But I can promise you, we're gonna have to go through their process to spend the money to get insurance policy.
I do, but I like it. I like it more than She did, yeah.
She signed off.
We need some coffee.
What do you need, coffee?
Commissioner Wallace.
He just took around the corner.
All right.
No, I'm not speaking. You go with tomorrow. What you need?
Better than I was last
Matt said he's got some information on phase 2 and 3. Is that what talk about traffic?
He said that he does have some information on
Yeah,
it.
he's on Zoom thing.
Yeah.
Says, you have,
Like,
what's on phase 2 and 3?
last. He's rather
Down the street from the office.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Saturday. But I don't want anybody raising too much.
Okay, no, yeah, thank you for reminding me about that.
But he worked
I've been serving for a long time. It's been a while.
In fact, you'll love this. One of the parishioners rewriting the history of Christ Church. If you were asked then, I would ask review what he wrote about Bishop Sharp's. We were there for a lot of it. One of the things he started to talk about was trying to reconcile by opening up
Next your first year with EYC. I'm working in the, I was in seventh grade. I was in seventh grade when I met him.
I was -2 when we
And his wife, he and his wife were so instrumental in taking care because they were in the and they brought us in and us going everywhere. I mean, you don't even remember when you all took us to the school for the deaf. We went to the school for the deaf. We went to Camp Oceanside. We went to the Smithsonian. And the best time that we had was actually chopping wood and singing Christmas carols. Look, we took him into the Mission Rest Home. He went back in the 70s. We took him into the Mission Rest Home, and they loved it. Miss Roberta was running it there. Miss Ethel, I met Miss Ethel Moore was running. But the way that they came in and got us and made us feel so much at home, because that was when William Harvey, Pop Harvey, Wilbur Harvey, Chuck Cobb, Mike Guy, Sonia, Sonia Guy. They say my father was an Episcopalian. And so that's how we started going to the Episcopal church. And we just had so much fun. But Father Sharp and Clay Matthews were real good. But man, they took us, they welcomed us into their home and they treated us like we were their children.
You know that my great grandmother.
Really? I know that you all came of a Portuguese descent. That I've always known.
My great grandmother Anna.
Yeah, but every time I see you, Kim, I just want to tell you thanks, man. Y'all,
all the time.
You have to please tell me that I asked about it. Really?
All right, good evening, everyone. We need to reconvene.
I don't.
That was about my first time.
Does he need to sit in one of these? Or is
You need to sit down.
You all ready?
I'm gonna pass them out because they got printed in there. You take your medicine.
Let's call it. She grabbed himself.
You drive, I'm driving. Wait, is that, no, it's together.
Commissioner Wallace. Commissioner Wallace.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Wait for it.
Pass that on, please. Come on now, you know. Pass this on. With this too. And you got the statement. I know you got one.
Well received, and I appreciate it. Get me in, get me in.
Passing these around, or is this for the?
Yes.
I'll make it.
Pass it on the right. Commissioner Walker.
Yeah, so Dr. Livingston and friends. Are they in it?
Oh, this is two. Okay, so
Yep, it's two. You gotta have both sheets, the whole package.
everybody, okay. Everybody got one? Okay.
Everybody got one?
I don't.
Okay. Yours is here. You're welcome, sir. Back in the day, they say take and pass it down. You're welcome.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for bearing with us as we took a slight break here so that we could prepare for the health and wellness report and update. I want to thank Commissioner Wallace.
Madam Chair, can we pause just to make sure the recording has been done?
Oh, okay.
Not exactly sure.
Yeah, I think it's on the light.
See a light.
It's on.
Does that mean it's on?
It's on.
Okay.
Okay, we're good?
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Again, thank Commissioner Wallace and Commissioner Tripp for taking on the health and wellness and having conversations, and we really appreciate it as we needed to move on with that committee, and thank you for their conversations and everything that they've had with the community. And so Commissioner Wallace is going to give that report. I think we have the interim director for the development of development services, Matt Shelley, and do we have anyone else on the screen? Just Matt?
Yeah, and being that we're so late, even if my partners aren't up here, we can reconvene if we need to elaborate on any of the tenants that I discussed.
Okay, so we can go ahead. Okay, if you will bring Mr. Shelley and then we can.
He's on there, I mean.
He is?
Yeah.
He says he can't hear us, so he heard us and then can't hear.
And Madam Chair, just to be helpful with the technology, everyone has a microphone in front of you. If you would like to be heard, there is an icon at the base of the microphone that should be blinking red. If you'd like to speak and be heard, press that icon. It will turn green, and all your flashers will be green. As is the case with Alderman Bingle right now, she's green. So
I'm touching it red.
Mr. Shelley and whoever may magically appear on our screen here will be able to hear you only if your microphone is blinking green. So if you'd like to be heard, be green.
So the whole time they was blinking red.
That's green, there's a green right
It's
here.
gray now, yeah.
No wonder we can hear us. No wonder we
Thank
can.
you, thank you. I was just gonna go talking to the green one.
You right there.
Testing, 1, 2.
All right, and again, thank Mr. Jones and everyone. Commissioner Wallace, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Greetings to all, especially the Aldermen assembled today and the Redevelopment Commission. Thank you for the 5-minute break to give me enough time to get here. I'm not going to say what I did get here, but yeah. Okay, so here is the New Bern Redevelopment Commission's Health and Wellness Subcommittee report. We're talking about the property, we're not going to call it that house, we're going to call it the Bloomfield property,
Yes,
all right?
yes.
But for name's sake. And I do want to highlight the partners during this endeavor. This is Dr. Fisher from Craven County Health Department, Dr. Livingston from North Carolina Central University, Wanda Boone from Durham Tri, Duke University, Mercy Clinic, which has been unsecured. We're setting up a meeting with them, and RCS within the next 2 weeks. Reggie Jones, who is a dedicated community leader that has been with us throughout the whole time. Yours truly, and then Commissioner Julian Tripp. What we're recommending for the site, as it is, and I'm going to give an alternative at the end of this
diatribe that I put in front of you today. But the recommended services that we discussed with our partners that should be done really at no cost to the city. This is via the partnership of Duke University and North Carolina Central University, and also Dr. Fisher and the health department. It's blood pressure screenings that we can offer, alcohol, prostate, diabetes, cholesterol, and cancer screenings. We can have blood draws at the site, and they will be transferred via courier to the health department lab for analysis. Trauma intervention, smoking cessation programs, addiction intervention, and they also said that a shuttle would be beneficial just in case we have certain cases at the site that needed immediate attention. Preventative services that we plan to offer, and again, this has already been discussed, and this is, I keep saying it, and I need to say it into the mic, there's no cost to the city, okay? Cultural interventions, stress, trauma-informed services, health promotion and awareness, and y'all, that encompasses a lot. I would have had 6 pages had I put listed each one that encompasses number 4. Resource advocacy, the lecture series that has been spoken about before, the 7 vignettes, I've had a chance to peruse them. I must say that they are awesome. They allow our community to be able to identify with the person within the vignette, all right, to see that it's not just me having this concern or this problem, which usually results in going to seek treatment. And also community forums by professionals from Duke, from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. That is a resource that I will secure with my connections in Raleigh. And the Mercy Clinic personnel and the Mercy Clinic. Personnel that we plan to have at the site. There will be a certified nurse, and that is per their rural community grant that North Carolina Central already has obtained, and they just need places so they can deploy the grant, which is great for us. Well, come on in. If you're going to do it, come on in. Several student nurses, these student nurses are required to have 2,000 hours of practicum, and there's several of them. Okay, so they'll be on a rotating basis. From my understanding, they'll stay down here, or they'll commute. Most likely they'll stay down here and do their week or 2 and then rotate out. Health department personnel and Mercy Clinic personnel once we secure that partnership. The next steps we need to take after this meeting is to get it documented, and I'll be working in conjunction with our attorney to get that partnership agreement drawn up so we can get signatures on the paper so we can start moving forward. But the partnership agreement between New Bern Redevelopment Commission, North Carolina Central University, Duke University, Craven County Health Department, and Durham Tribe. We need to meet with Commissioner Morgan and Mr. Jones in regards to the promissory note from Richard Carter for the land adjacent to the proposed health clinic. Okay, we need to get that something on paper so we can begin to move forward. And conduct a meeting with the Mercy Clinic and Religious Community Services to secure that additional partnership. Also, we need to conduct a meeting with the New Bern Board of Aldermen or a subcommittee of that consortium to finalize the decision to renovate the current site or to invest in building a new site. Okay? And being that we don't have my speakers going after me, I'm going to go ahead and say what that idea is. Okay, I've been doing some research, and also I've consulted with my good friend and expert, sage in building affairs. And it's harder to renovate a residential house, okay, than it is to knock it down and start over and build it like a warehouse format. I was so enthused and so entreated when Alderman Bangle and Alderman Best last week was like, well, have you considered knocking it down and starting anew? We can do so much more with it. My understanding, with $350,000, we may be able to very well get 33,000 square feet. Wow. And with that, with a new site, that brings in the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Exactly what y'all were saying before.
3,300.
30, did I say 30,000?
Yeah.
33,000 is
I'm thinking MGM Grand.
Hey, just a little further, just a little further. Just like the Western expansion. Yeah, that's the Taj that we're talking. No, I'm sorry. 3,000 to 3,300 square feet. I'm sorry. So with that, even when we brought that up when we were talking to Central and Duke, they were like, oh, now new site, that changes the thing. Now we can do other things if we had a new site, because that is a true investment in the community. Okay. And then we can custom, do how we plan. Another idea came up, and this will be totally for our meeting with the aldermen. We got two ways we can go about this. We can once we secure the parcels, that opens up a whole lot more land on that side. Either we can use it as parking, or we can keep the house where it is, renovate it for residential, and then again partner with the Housing and Development Subcommittee, and then we got a site.
Well, point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner. The house is not owned by the city of New Bern. The house is now owned by the Redevelopment Commission. So it is the Redevelopment Commission that will make that decision, not the Board of Aldermen. The decision that we have made is to give you $250,000
Okay.
towards that project. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that's the thing, but what you're talking about now is going to be the decision of this group.
Okay.
Because it is your property now. And we, in good wisdom, we gave it to you. I mean, that is the thought process, certainly.
But I think he needs to come back to us
That
because that $100,000, what they need to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah, that I guess that's.
Okay, so that's what you would request then, not
It's an
necessarily
extra
what you
$100,000.
want to do. Well, I don't, again, you'll come and make the whole presentation,
Yes.
but I will tell you that we're very pleased. I mean, you have representation on this board by Alderman Harris, myself, and Alderman Best, and that was the idea in making us ex officios,
Yes, ma'am.
so that we could be here, but we're here to support you. I'm thrilled beyond means to see all this.
Thank you so much.
So that means at the next meeting, we can go back and get them that $100,000?
I don't know, we can ask.
Yes, let's go. We got the ARC money.
Y'all coming too. If I got to go in front of them down there, y'all coming. I think I'm going out of myself. Okay, so the special points for the next meeting, or any questions that y'all need me to ask, that was what I thought my partners will be on. But again, the Rural Community Health Initiative, Dr. Livingston will go in depth like he did with us at our meeting about the tenets of it. North Carolina Central University and the Duke Partnership, we need to get a copy of that so we can get that council. The grant writing assistant, Dr. Livingston has promised, so once we do want to grow, we have that assistance. He already has that secured. Supplemental services, Dr. Fisher wanted to go in depth and make sure the aldermen understood the investment that they were making in this initiative. Counseling services and interventions from Walt, Wanda Boone. She's going to present on the next time. And then again, securing that additional land, we got to get that deed. We got to get that deeded over. So when we go in front of the aldermen, we got our paperwork right. Okay? I'm done. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wallace, did I understand you say that if it was a new construction, there would be better services because there was more funding or more?
More funding, more space
more
area.
Space, but the funding would follow along and provide better services to the community in a new facility.
Yes, ma'am. It's been my experience that when the city has put an investment like that, like a true partnership with an investment of $350,000, it seems that other consortiums kind of want to toe in, especially when it's a good community serving the 5 Points area. And in Raleigh, there's this big thing about rural community upliftment and rebuilding.
That's
and
right.
they jump for stuff like that, especially in rural areas. And we're considered a rural area.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Lord Jesus, it's your meeting, Chair. I'm sorry. Madam Chair.
No, it's your meeting. Go ahead. Yes, yes.
You know it's her meeting.
She's transitioning over to you to speak.
This is great. And this is great because I can look at these 9 things that you have, these 9 categories, and I know someone in that community that are my neighbors that would definitely take advantage of any one of these. And I can feel somebody in on every category just right off the top of my head right now. The reason why I'm excited about it is because not since 1979 has there either been something physical, either public or private, as it relates to healthcare, that has been housed in what we now call the redevelopment area. Ever since Dr. Bondwell, Dr. Lippman left that area, there has not been any physician that has been physically housed in that area. And now we have an opportunity to bring back, and it may not be a physician, it may be a CNA, PA, RN, or whatever you want to call it. But there will be someone there to give the attention. There are 2 things that I would like to have you add to this list.
Okay.
One is prenatal and postpartum. And if they can't treat it there, then I would also like to add scheduling. Because A lot of my neighbors do use the health department. Do you know how hard it is to be able to call and get an appointment on the phone? You almost have to go out physically. And rather than going out physically, why not walk up the street or either drive up the street to this location to where they could have the scheduling and have it to roll over to where you can make an appointment if you can't be seen at the residence here, at the housing there.
Right.
The site. I'm all over the place right now. If you can't be seen at the site, then you should be able to make an appointment at the site to go out to the health department. And that would help tremendously. But also definitely, because we've noticed in our area, prenatal and postpartum is something that is not being addressed properly.
I agree.
I just wanted to call out to appreciate the work that you did, but I think one thing that's really important is the fact that these students will be able to get these hours in. I mean, that's a partnership that's amazing because we need more nurses and they're able to do that by utilizing this facility. So again, me personally, shout out to the whole subcommittee, Reggie, you guys, this is amazing. I know this is the information that they were looking for, and you know, again, you have me 100% support, whatever I gotta do to get it, to make this happen because it's important and this is some good work. So thank you for the work that you guys have done for this.
Madam Chair and Mr. Wallace, just a couple of notes here. So on page 2 of the handout that's been distributed in next steps, there's item number 2. To effectuate a transfer of those properties, something that Mr. Carter is willing, we would need something other than a promissory note. So that's a discussion that we can certainly have offline to facilitate that if Mr. Carter is willing. And also, this is not legal advice, but just a practical thought that you may want to consider is if you make the decision tonight or in a subsequent meeting that you want to change what 908 Bloomfield Street looks like, and that house may not be there in the way that it's traditionally been done. That type of change might be jarring for people who are not informed about what's going on. So you may consider, as you're going down this pathway and firming up these partnerships and making these moves, you might consider some type of advertising is not a good word for what I'm trying to say, but some type of public discourse so that people who are walking by and who are driving by and who have very strong emotions, thank you, Mr. Reggie, emotions or some type of connection to that site can be informed on the front end so that there's not a shock or trauma from an emotional perspective on the back end. Certainly not required statutorily, but that may be a practical consideration.
Thank you.
Can the whole building be moved to another location?
Now, that's going to be for further discussion because also, again, I gave the city 2 different options for it. Actually, not city, development. 2 different options. Either we could keep that renovated and then rent it out, and that would help housing and development. Right. As another site ready to go, we finally get some people in to some house, to some living arrangements. Or we can tear it down, open it up, and then plop down. So that's for another discussion. So those are the 2 options I threw out there for us to consider at a future date.
Besides the 2 lots that you're going to try to approach Mr. Carter, has there been discussion or are you know, the concern, the mayor and I have had concern about the other lot that we don't own that's in front of the house there, doing something and trying to speak to the owner of that to secure that as well?
I also have communication with that person, and they have been thinking about doing the same thing that I talked to Mr. Carter about. Okay. So we'll see how it goes down the line.
Okay. Will you look into that?
I'll do it tonight.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. All right. Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Okay. Hold on just a minute. So for the next agenda, Alex, if you make Mr. Shelley aware of this, is that we need to have the presentation by those partners that he mentioned. It'll be through Zoom, so it's required to be on the agenda publicly and everything. Okay. To have them Right.
The statute says that if one of the members of this commission is participating remotely, then there are special notice requirements. If all the commissioners are present physically, then that notice isn't required statutorily. However, if you want members of the public who may not be able to fit in this space to have access to the presentation as it's happening live, you certainly can disseminate that information.
Yeah, let's do it so. Have them available. And so can you contact them for our next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we need them in person, right? Is that what we need?
Yes.
Speaking of that meeting, Madam Chair, just, it says next meeting June 9th, but I think it's incorrect. It should be June 8th.
June 8th.
Yes, but on your paperwork on the agenda, it said June 9th, so I just want to make sure.
Okay. So the next meeting is June 8th.
Right.
Okay.
We know all about that, don't we?
You try not to be here on your birthday.
My birthday, buddy.
Okay.
Since this is moving along very nicely, pace-wise, would it be also at the next meeting on the agenda for the housing work group to make recommendations to the commission about the use of 908 as far as?
Then at this time, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I
Did
ask?
you do that before reaching out to the community about the two different
We won't
possibilities?
tell the community till the plan is ready to roll.
Well, what she was saying was,
So let me be clear about what I was saying.
Before she bulldozes is what she's saying.
What I'm,
No, we understand what you're saying. It's just like when we moved all the houses into the area. I went and on foot and went to every person and said, we're moving 3 houses into your neighborhood within the next month. Just wanted you to be aware. Thank you so much for your cooperation. If we can help you, let us know. And that way, they're not shocked. So, and there's a way we can do that on the website, put a sign out there and things like that. So we understand what you're saying.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
And I was going to tell the kid, we need to, in front of all, we need to have that figured out.
We'll have it figured out.
well.
Okay, so we'll be reporting out at the next, right?
That's correct.
Okay, we'll be reporting out what we come up with at the next meeting. If that's kind of late, I think I'll be in front of you probably.
Well, and it's this matter of whether the decision on we can make a recommendation and come up with our idea, the housing work group, on what to do with that housing. But, I mean, it won't be a final decision from the redevelopment commission until the next meeting, is that correct?
Oh, right.
unless you all want to have an intervening special meeting, you would have to, the discussion be at the next regular meeting.
Are you gonna find out if you can receive CDBG funds on those districts?
We're going to have to, that'll be part of it. I mean, Jeff's the only one on the housing work group that's been in that house, and I would ask her if it's even feasible. I mean, just roughly off the top of your head, feasible to convert it into rehab it into residential.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I would say yes, it is. And I think it is feasible to think that it can be rehabbed into a duplex or something to that effect, not just one house, but a duplex or maybe even a duplex with a studio attachment.
Okay. Wow.
The way the layout is.
Okay.
Well, let me get the two comments from the public there, and then the next step, so we can go ahead and know what it is we need to do. And Attorney Mosley here. Okay, Ms. Shields.
Just wondering, I didn't see COVID distribution on the list of things that you're offering, like medical services. And there are a lot of grants available right now for COVID support.
Thank you. And this is just the beginning, so it's like I said, there'll probably be 17 pages when we're done. So, you had two things. What was the other thing?
Yes, I'm also wondering, like, what is your plan for referrals? So when something is found in, one of these patients that comes to the center, and there's an, there's a medical issue, then where are they being referred?
It would normally, well, the health department is picking up the supplemental services, and they specifically said referral-based services. So anything like that happen will go through the health department, and if it's a hospital type of referral, they're all knowledgeable and competent.
They got that, and that's something you can work out as part of your agreement. Okay, all right. Mr. Holloway?
The reason why I said that about the house, the students gonna have somewhere to live. Otherwise, they have to go to the hotel, and then it's gonna be an expense on the city. So why don't you take the house, put it on one of the pieces of land, and use it in that way?
And we'll take that under consideration, because again, once we get the thumbs up from, then we really start putting in, you know, the flow of services to go with. We can add to or take from. So. Okay.
I have a question for you, Madam Chair. So your next meeting is June 8th. Our next board meeting is the 14th. So you don't follow after us anymore when it comes to
No,
the meeting?
what happened was, this board meets the second
Oh,
Wednesday.
so you stay consistent with that?
Yes.
Yeah, the second Wednesday, and the problem is, the second Tuesday is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the way the first of the month falls.
So
I know,
will-
I thought that too.
So will you only meet once in June?
Yes, probably.
Okay, because we're going to go ahead and put him and whoever the rest of it is on the agenda for the 14th.
Okay.
So to present, just, you know, with the current board with Barbara and Sabrina and stuff, obviously we know it's elections, we don't know what's going to happen, but we want to go ahead and get it on the board because we at least know that the three of us will still be on the board.
That means business.
I was gonna say, unless we can ask for the money at our meeting, our next
Well,
meeting.
that's what I was going to try and do.
That's, I don't know, you know, we could ask for the money and put some kind of information together. I mean, but that's when I would ask for it in that May meeting.
Well, let's
I'm
do
up
it.
for that.
Me too.
Okay, well, we can all agree.
Let's
This
go.
is so awesome.
And the thing is, I don't even know, well, I wonder if Foster could just do a call around.
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, let's see if he could do a call around to the
Yeah.
board members, since we've already approved the money, we've discussed it, and we asked for the 250 to be increased to 350, and just see if, by a poll, if the board's
Right,
okay.
and we
I would
have-
think, or would that need an official vote?
Well, as I recall, I don't think the board made an official decision about the allocations to the Development Commission. As I recall, which is dangerous, relying on memory, I think the only thing y'all voted and approved was the stormwater project.
No, it was the 2.25. So we
Yeah.
did two things, the stormwater and the 250.
$250,000.
But the rest we haven't voted on the budget. We voted to put it in the budget. So
Oh, okay.
I think we still, since we haven't voted on the budget, we can do the call around.
I think that we can have a conversation with the city manager to work out the logistics.
Yes, and he would know what we can and can't do, the
Yeah.
city finance director.
Yeah.
Because I think those ARP monies are really separate from the budget.
They are.
Yeah,
It's all separate from-
the ARP money is separate. It really isn't part of the budget. It
Okay.
is and it isn't.
Okay.
And I assume if members of the Board of Aldermen would like additional information, you all are here and can speak to your colleagues, or if they have questions of Mr. Wallace, I'm sure you can make himself available to answer any of those questions by the board members.
I can tell you right now, I'm sure we have the votes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Council.
We could whip those votes.
When you come on the 14th, though, we want a PowerPoint, we want it moved in.
Supposed to be a PowerPoint.
We need transition
You might not
PowerPoint.
even need the PowerPoint, I get the money, just show me the money, right?
That's true.
Okay, all right. Mr. Jones, do you have anything that you would like to add? Okay. You can sit.
Yeah, you don't have to get up.
You don't have to get up. You don't have to get up.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
So we were emergency.
Let me see. First of all, with the partnership there, this is Mr. Zeb Hub from RCS. I do have that letter of intent that's been through his board and his signature and all. They are on board. Miss Dr. Wanda Boone with Tri-Durham, they are on board. I have that letter of intent also. It's just their wedding anniversary today. They would have been on Zoom with us and what have you. and Dr. Livingston and group. They've all met with the Commissioner Tripp and Commissioner Wallace, and Dr. Fisher and I, we were down in the park one Saturday all day long. And so they've committed to everything along with Duke University and other partners. So all our partners are pretty much all in on everything. I just want to give you guys thank you from the time that I came to the Health and Wellness Committee, all you guys that have invited me in, the community that has backed me, all the members of the community, the partners that have worked with me, Zeno Lodge, all the persons, each one of you, all the commissioners, again, like I said, the people that have worked with us. This is about the community. So I just want to say thanks to see it move along. Now I'm going to go get my help together. But you guys just keep up the good work. Tabari, Jay, thanks for you guys taking helm of everything, and everybody just keep working together and making it go. And I just want to say thanks again for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good.
Sit down. Thank you so much, Commissioner Tripp. Thank you so much.
You gonna bring it back?
Where was it at? It was my mic anyway, but.
Attorney Mosley, is there anything else before we Okay. Alderman Beagle, Alderman Harris, any?
Not to hold anything up, the only thing was back to the Bloomfield site. Depending on the decision, I know that we did ask to see if we could get the information that you provided. Were you still working on that in regards to the numbers?
The cost estimate that we
Yeah.
did for the repairs?
Right, I remember we, the committee had asked if you could break it down to not the Taj Mahal, but bare minimum to get in. We were still looking to see that information. I didn't know if you were still preparing it for the board.
You know, no, I believe that the end result of that was to leave the estimate where it was.
Okay.
Because it would include totally repairing, you know, including replacing the windows, and I believe I received the direction to leave it
Okay.
as it was.
Thank you, I appreciate that information.
All right. Okay. Could we have a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all again, sir.